Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of our Footy Fantasy podcast. Today we'll be doing an Arsenal season review. Obviously, we're end of the domestic season for the Premiership, and we have a full Arsenal gang here. We'll start with Henry. Welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Hi,
Uh,
everybody.
okay. We go to Steven. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yep, thanks for having me, man.
Uh, Karim. Thanks for coming on also.
Thank you so much for having me.
And EeJay, regular host, part of the team. And before we jump in, I'm going to do something very interesting to introduce this video. And you guys have to be ready to take this because it's all fun, you know.
We can't see
We
it.
can see it.
That's it. Yeah. Can you see this?
Oh wow. Okay.
that's the welcome to your, Europa, the flutes, the flute song. So
Another year.
well, you said what?
Another year. Another Europa
This is
season.
like fourth year in a row, right?
Yeah.
This is consistency.
Is it fourth or third?
This is the
Oh,
fourth
it's
year in a
fourth.
row.
Fourth. Yeah.
In a row. This is consistency. Wow. It's pretty interesting. So before we go in, we'll talk about the FA Cup lowdown. Then we go into player ratings and we also look at targets. I think it was good. Let's start with Karim. Karim, tell us about the FA Cup yesterday. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Jeez.
Is it the start of something special, or is it just a one-off game? You can't read too much and just lay it down. How do you feel?
No, I thought it was a really good game. As far as if it's something special, let me just answer that question up front. I don't think so. I think Arsenal are still very much a building side.
Okay.
So I don't think it's anything special. I think before that team is ready to really compete for anything, other than the FA Cup, of course, they have to. It's going to take another 2 or 3 years. As long as we keep the same manager and we buy the right players, it's going to take another couple of years for them to be able to compete for anything. Now, as far as the game goes, as far as the game went yesterday, it was actually a good game. It's kind of what we all expected. Both teams are good going forward. Both teams suck when it comes to defending. So I would be surprised if there was no goals yesterday, or if we had to play penalties. So, I mean, Chelsea were the better side earlier in the game. Arsenal, typical Arsenal, they typically don't start very well anyway. Most games they don't start very well.
Yeah.
They kind of grew into the game after 20 minutes, of course. We saw that. The highlight for me was the Oba goal, the second one. It's very reminiscent of what Messi did to both engine against Bayern Munich in the final. So that was almost a copycat of that. So
That's true.
but
That's true.
all in all, I mean, I thought the game went well. I wasn't. There was really no surprises for me. I thought Arsenal were going to win that game anyway. That's just because, of course, the Samuel Fagad's his mantra of Messi, his mantra of Wembley shall die, right? So yeah. So I mean, of course, the fans so far, I thought we were going to win the game anyway. So yeah,
It wasn't sure last season though. Just
say that
FYI.
again.
Wembley wasn't sure last season when you guys met us though. Just
Yeah,
putting that
well,
out there.
it's still an Emirates Cup going back to the Emirates Stadium. Like I
Okay.
said. So
Okay.
yeah, well, I thought the game was. It went as planned. That's what I can take out of it. So yeah, no surprises.
Okay. Henry, the referees. We have to talk about the referees. The refereeing decision. I say this specifically because historically, and this is me not being biased, Arsenal fans have this um, historical behavior of like going back on the referees. Any game, they hold on to it. This happened, that happened. But yesterday, I think, in my opinion, I think Chelsea fans probably took it better than I took because if that was the reverse and that happened to Arsenal, those calls. I mean, going. What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Let's just start with the referee.
the reason why they're able to take it is because a few weeks ago we had similar incident like that with Jorginho where he was supposed to be sent up and he wasn't sent out. So they can sort of like understand. There were some calls that definitely, even as an Arsenal fan, you're like, okay, well, yeah, that was kind of towards our advantage. But I think overall it was balanced, right? There were some tackles too, and some calls that were against us, which a lot of people are not talking about. But yeah, maybe it was a little bit tipped to our favor. But listen, every now and then you need luck on your side, so I can't complain.
You can't complain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were your thoughts about the game generally?
Oh, the game was actually, as Karim said, a little bit of it as expected. The only issue I had is, Arsenal, for the past few games, and even since they've returned, they've kind of turned a slight corner. I've always labeled Arsenal as a side that likes playing 45 minutes of football. And after, one half of football, they kind of like forget. Like you literally come back and you see them and you start asking yourself, is this the same team I saw during the first half, right? But lately, like since the return, I've noticed a little bit of some type of like difference whereby they're actually concentrating a little bit much better for the entire length of the game, right? So it doesn't mean they won't still have those defensive lapses. I think that's sort of our peril this whole season. But you could tell that they were up for the game. They knew what winning that cup meant for the club and for the team. And I keep saying it. I wasn't even really impressed, mainly just about winning the trophy, but the implications for me was really big, and I'm happy they were able to pull it off.
Okay. Steven, let's go to Steven. What are your thoughts? Were you impressed by the mental strength? I mean, normally Arsenal, when they concede, that happened in Baku, right? When they concede first, they fall apart. So
I don't think this is the same team and the same mentality with this manager. I think it's very different. I think the old team, 5 minutes in, you can see a goal like that in the cup final. But even after the goal Chelsea had, like you said, it was like 15, 20 minutes. The first 15, 20 minutes, they were on top. So I think that the discipline and the mentality of the team is different. And even when you hear the players talk now, they're a lot more composed in terms of just how they approach the game and how they even talk about their behavior on the pitch. So I think it was a good performance. I think the start was rough. I think there was just some nerves. Obviously, cup final, knowing the severity of them having to get the result. But yeah, the big players turned up on the day.
Okay. David Luiz. We have to talk about David Luiz a little bit. He looks like he kind of has stepped up in the big games since his. What are your thoughts about David Luiz?
David, he's going to be like that. He's going to have one good game and then he's going to have somewhere he makes a mistake. I think the biggest thing and the reason why Arteta and the club like him is his leadership. And it's a very young team, and you don't look at David Luiz and say, oh, he's a leader. But again, his personality, everybody likes him. He gets on with the coaches. He gets on with the young players. He wants to help everyone. He's just got a cool personality. So I think that's why they like him. And his performances have been better in when and where needed. He's still going to make mistakes. Is he the long-term solution for the club? No. But you're bringing in a young defender like Saliba and you want to keep him calm. You want to keep him composed. You want someone that's been there and done everything. Luiz is that guy. So I don't have a problem with him for another year, knowing that we're building around him.
Okay. That's good. EeJay. So, oh boy. So is Arsenal oh boy FC or Arteta FC? Well, I want to understand, like, who is doing most of the work, EeJay?
I think it's definitely a combination of the two, right? Because Arteta is the manager that I think most of us didn't. I would say 90% of the fans didn't really want, because we were looking for experience and all of that. But then he came in, and I've said it 200 times on this podcast. I was sold after the first interview. So him coming in with his system and his style and his expectations and trying to instill that into the team has been necessary. And even his game plans for each match, especially during the FA Cup, these one-off games where you win or go home. Mm-hmm. He's clearly been spot on since he joined the team. the FA Cup. We were 4 for 4, right? Since he came on. So I think it's just tactics with him. He knew the kind of team he had, that the kind of work he had to put in to get those kind of results against City, against Sheffield United, against Chelsea in the final game. So that's him. And then Oba is just the guy that we fed the ball to, and he's our top goal scorer. He's the one that was going to score. So yeah, combination of the two. But yesterday, I know, Henry, you said something about it's not about the trophy. I think it's 90% about the trophy, okay? Because I think we really, this season was in the gutter for us, right? We were all like, we all knew it was going to be in the gutter. We said, we had 3 coaches. We knew what was going to happen. We knew this was nothing. And then to come out with an FA Cup, which anyone in England will say, you probably rank Champions League, Premier League, and FA Cup next. So we're talking about the 3rd most prestigious trophy in our league. And
top four is in between. Top 4 trophy before.
Top 4 is not a trophy.
Top 4. It's now a trophy. It's
Okay.
now. It is a trophy now.
It's a trophy for United now that's all they can
I
win.
know.
No. It's a trophy for everybody. It's a way to get back in the. So go ahead. I'm just joking. Go ahead.
It's not hardware, okay?
It's not. That's true.
So
software is better. It's more important than hardware nowadays.
I see. So getting that in the books against the team like Chelsea, which I predicted last week we would beat, because of the karmic situation around everything, and the fact that they should have lost to us already this season and didn't, or maybe not even lost, maybe just drawn that game. But yes, and to add to everything anyone else said about the calls, I don't care about the referees.
I remember your campaign. Remember, EeJay has a okay. Anybody's watching. EeJay has a referee campaign that she started. Was it a couple of weeks ago, saying Arsenal is getting targeted. Oh my goodness!
I started on Twitter and I said, "Who do we need to pay off to get the same calls that United gets, that Liverpool gets, that these other clubs get?"
It's clearly working now.
And sure enough, this game comes and, it looks like we're getting calls. But what people don't understand is that these are just, to us, it's like they're fouls. I mean, you foul this player. Is it too harsh or is it too, what's the problem there? These were fouls. The second yellow card for Kovacic is the only one that I think, anyone would say, yeah, unfair. But, it's not unusual to get a second yellow card for something that someone thought was a foul. Now, is that something VAR needs to look into? Maybe. But other than that, I think we're the better side yesterday. Everyone said that there were better spells for either team. I mean, but then they started dropping like flies. When we dropped like flies against City, I didn't hear anyone. I mean, I heard people cry for us, but that's what happens sometimes in these games.
Yeah.
People got injured, and then you can't keep. We didn't even take advantage of those injuries, which we could have in the first half and put the game to bed. So I think we were better than Chelsea yesterday. We should have won, and we did win. And the red card came after we'd already scored our second goal.
Okay.
And even after the red card came, they were still coming at us. I think they were even the favorite in the last 10 minutes to go on and maybe get an equalizer. So yeah, I'm not concerned. I don't think there's any I don't think Anthony Taylor is a Arsenal fan, because I didn't remember him from the season. I don't think he's favored us in any particular way during the season, so they'll be okay. But this is a good trophy. This is a good trophy.
Congrats to you guys. I mean, I'll just say my parting thoughts about this section is, for sure, that game yesterday, Arsenal was better. They were better than Chelsea. But the most important thing is sometimes, like I always say, I think Sir Alex Ferguson always says, I'd rather be a lucky general than a good general. Arteta was a lucky general yesterday. Everything lined up Pulisic going out was critical, because any other day, that chance, he buries it, 2-1, game turns on his head, he's fine, and Arsenal have their big backs against the one. He's back and forth. But he loses it, and to add to that, he tears his hamstring. So, Azpilicueta is probably their best defender, I think, when it comes to just being calm. They lost and they lost Pulisic. So when that happens, you know that the stars are aligning in your favor. But however, I'm not taking anything from Arsenal. Arsenal deserve to beat Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea, one thing I would say, though, if I want to be slightly critical, maybe towards the defenders and slightly Lampard, is the fact that I think Arsenal's tactics was clear, right? The ball over the top, to the right, was obvious. They were targeting the lack of pace of Aspi and the pace of versus the pace of Oba behind, that's because they were playing a high line. They kept targeting that, and not Zuma, not Rudiger. None of them could recognize this and just step there, just switch. Then to Lampard as the manager, I thought he should have swapped it. He should have just swapped them. That's what he should have done. Just swap them. Take Aspi to the left, take Zuma or Rudiger to the right. They are faster, they have better recovery. And just try it. Because they did it the first time, he didn't need to go. There was the first chance. I remember that he didn't control well, Oba didn't control well. Then he left it. Then the penalty happened, and they still left it. So I was like, come on, you should have swapped it at that point. But Aspi got injured, so anyways, that changed. So going into player ratings. So this is how we're going to do player ratings. I'll say each person in your squad, each of you, so that's a safe time. Because if you do one by one, I think it's going to take forever. So each person in your squad, each of you give us your score. If there's any controversial score, we'll ask people to leave comments, or we can talk a little to be made for like a minute and argue why you think this person should be. Say one person says a 4 against somebody saying a 7. So we'll start with Leno. And I think we're only going to consider people who have played, and you guys know better than me, because there are people who have played at least 10 games. I think that's fair. I don't think we can jump for 5 games over a whole season. So there's people who have 10 games over a whole season. And not just Premier League, just FYI, everything, Europa, everything.
Okay.
So we'll start with Brent Leno. EeJay, since you're 1 over 10.
I think Leno, very good goalkeeper for us, and especially with the line he had in front of him. So I give him a 7.5 for the season.
That's fair, in my opinion. For what I saw, I probably would have given him more. Henry, go ahead.
Okay, I give him an 8 just because he was consistent when he was present during the season.
Okay. Steven.
Yeah, I give him an 8 too. He's in the running for player of the season. So for me,
I agree. I saw so many games. He was outstanding. Kept you guys so many games. Karim.
I give him a 7.
Okay. Interesting. 7. Okay. 7 or 8 is still the same thing. Let's do second keeper Martinez. Stay with Karim. Over 10.
I give Martinez an 8.
Martinez 8. Oh wow. Over Leno. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Steven.
I give him an 8 too. I think the difference between them is just more the distribution side. I think Martinez, over the course of the season, especially with Arteta's tactics, he's just a bit more composed with his distribution. But in terms of what they're contributing, I think they've been level this season. So I give him an 8.
Okay. EeJay.
I give him an 8. And I do give him slightly, I think I give him slightly more than Leno, because I feel like what he was called to do was a little bit more tough than, Leno's starting goalkeeper. He was asked to fill in at the drop of a hat and did such a good job. I think he probably, he didn't win the FA Cup for us, but contributed heavily in all the games leading up to that. Yeah.
Okay. Henry.
I give him an 8.5.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean that's fair. 8.5 all through. That seems fair. But you still want to say something?
The only reason why I give him that, and I discussed this with EeJay privately, is because, prior to when he actually became, started deputizing for Leno, we struggled with set pieces. We struggled with corner kicks.
Okay.
If you notice, I stopped having self-induced hypertension once he stepped in. Like literally, he would go for the ball. Aerially, he really helped us, and then his presence, and then he had like some reflex saves that I know for a fact if it was Leno, those balls were going in. So that's the only reason why I give him a slight edge over Leno.
Okay.
I want him to be our number 1 for next year. So
I think that's early, but yeah.
If I'm chipping here, I think the difference for me between Leno and Martinez is actually, he has a lot more command of his 18-yard box. And his starting position is very good. Leno is a very good shot stopper, but when it comes out for corner kicks and free kicks, I get quite nervous. He's caught a couple of games this past season where he's flapped on a couple of balls. Like Henry said, his distribution is not as good as Martinez. So Martinez, I think, if you were to ask me starting next season, I'll struggle Leno is going to struggle to get his jersey back. He hasn't done anything wrong to lose it on the bench. So
I I believe in competition. I believe in that for sure. I don't want to go into United.
I know
So
you guys
defense,
need a new goalkeeper.
possibly. We can't talk about David like that. You can't. That's don't don't talk about David. That's a world class keeper we're talking about there.
His season
Defense.
is 6 for him today this year.
Yeah, it's stunk up the place. So let's go. Socrates, EeJay, Sincere.
He has even played under Arteta. I don't recall. I don't know the last time I saw him apart from yesterday for a cameo. So
He played a lot earlier in the season. I remember.
it's hard to remember his performances. I would give him like a defense for Arsenal anyway. Probably across the board, it's just so low that he can get a 5.5 for me.
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5, 5.7. I don't know, not a 6. A 6 means average. I think average is fair.
Let's do whole numbers and let's do whole numbers if we can. Let's do whole numbers. So 5 or 6, EeJay.
Do like 5.
5, okay. Karim.
I guess a 5 for me.
Okay. From B2, so I think that's fair. Probably had only one good game I saw. I was just against United. Steven.
I give him a 4.
Oh. Okay.
Like it's because again, there's certain players, right, that they look good in crisis. So if it's chaos, they look great because they always seem to be clearing balls and doing whatever. And he's one of those for me. Like in crisis, like last ditch, so no one sees what he's done before to have to be making a last ditch challenge. It's kind of the same thing I have with Mustafi, but I give him a 4. I just think that for what he was when he first came, he just this season he just bad positioning, getting himself in bad positions, and then they didn't help him by moving him around so much. Like he had games where he was playing at right back and in the back three. I don't think that helped him, but I think it wasn't a good season for me. So 4.
That's a good point. You said driving in crisis. That's typical of Phil Jones. Henry.
I give him a 5 too. I just think his level of play dropped a little bit this season, and I also think he's also a victim of like tactical change. I think he just doesn't fit the bill for what Arteta is envisioning for that defense. So he's just a victim of the circumstance.
Stay with you, Mustafi. So Henry. So just do Mustafi rating over 10.
Oh, Mustafi.
Yeah.
Mustafi, I give him 4.5 or 5. You say you want for number 5.
Yeah.
Mustafi 5. Although he steps up a lot during the last few games for 5.
5. Okay. EeJay, Mustafi.
5 as well. Yeah, he stepped up like everyone's saying, but that averages out his season to a 5. It would have been lower before Arteta kind of revamped his career a little bit. And I don't want to be too deceived by what we've seen so far. He still made some mistakes, especially if you watch the Leicester games, some things that,
A whole clean sheet Mustafi. Is that what you guys call him? Clean sheet Mustafi. That's the funniest nickname I've heard. The clean sheet Mustafi. Okay. Steven, Mustafi.
Yeah, I give him a 5 because of the improvement that they said in the second half of the season. But even the improvement comes with drama for me. Like, again, everybody talks about David Luiz and the red cards. I mean, half of those red cards is David Luiz bailing out Mustafi mistakes, right? So he gets caught under the ball, someone breaks in behind, Luiz is trying to recover, does something stupid. So I give him a 5.
Okay. Karim.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5 as well. I just think I don't think we have really bad defense. I think our defenders are quite average compared to most of the other teams. For himself and Socrates, I don't think they are that bad of defenders. They are that bad of defenders. I just think the tactics do not help them, right? We have a defense line that lacks pace, right? You cannot play those guys in the center in pairings where none of them actually have any pace, right? So they're always going to struggle. I think Mustafi stepped up in real big games. The Man City game, I think, was really, really, really good in that game. For that, I think just for that game alone, I just give him 5. Just for that game alone.
For that game alone. Okay, just that one game.
It was pretty good. That's part of the reason why we actually winning this trophy, right? So
okay.
That game alone is enough to actually average him 2.5 for me. So
Holding, staying with you.
Holding's kind of he's had a mixed bag for me. I think he has the ability to be a really good defender. I'll give Holding I'm almost tempted to give him a 4. I'm quite disappointed with him. He's really good on the ball, but he seems to always make last-ditch tackles, right? I mean, his position is quite bad to start off, and he's almost always trying to, so defending in crisis, right? I think it just looks like that's just it's the character of all Arsenal defenders, right?
Defending crisis.
So
it's the 4 for Holding.
4 for Holding.
Yeah, I give Holding a 5 as well. Again, I just think I give him a bit of grace coming back from the injury that he had because he was never the quickest anyway. I do still see potential with him. I think, especially in Arteta's tactics with ball-playing defenders, I think he has a future, even if it's not as a starter, more as a squad player. But I just think the injury didn't help. It just took him a long time to get even games.
Okay.
So I'll give him a 5.
Okay. EeJay, Holding.
Yeah, 5 as well. And it's funny because, like they said, he's been injured and he's been in and out as far as playing games. I don't really remember much from seeing him this season, but I didn't realize that he was very, very slow. So yeah, he seems like he has a presence and he can be. Maybe he reminds me a little bit of Mertesacker. He could be someone like that, maybe. But I think he can take the 5 and hopefully improve next season.
Okay, Henry.
I also give him a 5. And the only game I saw that he had an outstanding game this season was the Liverpool game. Other than that, he will probably have even gotten a 4. But that game showed me that if he's locked in and if he can find a way to be consistent, he could be actually an above average defender. But otherwise, I think he just gets a 5.
Okay. Staying with your right winger, and I'm now struggling to remember your winger. That's Bellerin played up to 10 games this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody played up to 10 games except for Cedric.
Oh, Cedric. So Pablo Mari has played up 10 games?
No.
So I think we should.
On the right.
Okay, so on the right. Okay, so yeah, we can discount Pablo Mari. I'm trying to remember all your central defenders. I think that's everything. Am I missing somebody?
Missing
Chambers. Okay.
David Luiz yet?
David Luiz. Oh, okay, that's true. So okay, let's do. So just to keep it clear, I'm looking at time and I want us to not spend over 1 hour. So Henry, let's do 2 defenders at a time. So let's do Chambers and David Luiz together. Henry.
Chambers 5, David Luiz 5. Our defense is 5, sir. 5.
EeJay. Chambers
Same
and David
thing.
Luiz.
Yeah, David Luiz offsets his own bad performances with some good ones. So he gets a 5. And Chambers as well. That's a 5. Chambers is good. But again, that's another squad player type guy we're looking at. We still need, we're going to talk about this later, I'm sure, but we need like at least 2 new people.
Arsenal is so imbalanced. You put a central defense FC. How many defenders do you guys have? What the hell? I'm just forgetting your defenders. Like, you have too many. We have the same problem, actually. You have too many central defenders. At some point, we had the same problem. Let me say that. Karim. David Luiz and Chambers.
I'll give Chambers 6 and
Oh wow.
4.
4 for David Luiz. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not too far off. Until I get something that's so skewed, that's when we have to pause and talk about it. Steven, Chambers and David Luiz.
Give Chambers a 6 as well, and I give David Luiz a 5.
A 5. Okay. So staying with you now, I think we're done with central defenders. Let's do Bellerin.
Bellerin, I give a 5.
Okay.
Again, I think like Holding, he just struggling to come back from the injury. I think towards the end of the season with the break, he started to kind of show glimpses of his old self. Okay. But I just have more expectation of Bellerin in the attacking sense. Just haven't seen that for a while. Okay.
So let's do this actually. If I'm going to just jump through everything now. So do Bellerin, Tierney, I think, and Maitland-Niles. That's Maitland classified as a defender or midfielder? I always struggle with his position. He's a midfielder.
Just rate him. I'll just rate him as a player.
Okay, so Steven, let's stay with Steven. So give me Maitland-Niles and Tierney, Kieran Tierney.
So Maitland-Niles, I give a 6. I think he's had a pretty consistent season when he's been used. He has his hot and cold games, but again, just the physical attributes are there for him to be a very good player. And then Tierney, I give an 8. His season kind of been hit and miss with injuries, but
He's really
the
good,
potential,
man.
the potential
Jealous.
is there.
I'm jealous. I'm going to tell you straight away. Consider the defender we have left back. I'm jealous about Tierney. I'm going to be open about that. I'm really jealous. Like straight away, not to hijack the section. Straight away, when I saw Tierney, I saw a couple of games. Like, man, these guys have a good left back. Like, there's some things you see in right back and left back as full backs. You already know that this person, it doesn't get injured. This person is the real deal. Tierney is the real deal. Karim, Tierney, Bellerin, and who was the last person?
Niles.
Yeah.
Niles.
Bellerin gets a 4 for me. Injury is not an excuse for him. Tierney gets an 8, and Niles gets a 6.
Okay. EeJay.
I'll be kinder to Bellerin. 5. Okay, I'm only full numbers, so it's a 5. It's not a 6. It's not a 6 season for him.
He's planting trees, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of nature. Give him. He's planting
Remember,
trees.
the trees are as a function. Is a function of the entire team. But yeah, I think coming back from the injury, that injury was a serious injury. He was out for a long time.
Yeah. It is.
So yeah, he gets that 5, and then Niles all over the place. As far as like where they played him, I think at some point he was even talking about maybe he needs to leave the team to get. He didn't think he was a part of Arteta's plan, but I think he will be part of Arteta's plans going forward. So I think he's kind of shown himself to be useful. He gets a 6, and then Tierney, I agree with the 8. Yeah, and he was injured for like earlier in the season he was, but yeah, that left back position that honestly I can't remember who was there before. Kolasinac can't even get back there.
Oh, I forgot Kolasinac. We're going to talk about that. Go ahead.
Monreal, Monreal is a good left back for us, just a little bit above average. But yeah, I think he's going to excel in that spot for us. So we're going to be happy with him.
So just as you talk about Kolasinac, give Kolasinac, and I'll come back to everybody else. Give Kolasinac a rating.
Kolasinac gets a 5. 5 for me. That guy is you think seeing him, he should be better than what he is. He should be a little bit stronger, a little bit less of a pushover, and he's kind of fast. He's not slow, but sometimes some of the mistakes he makes are just very like pedestrian, Like it shouldn't
He's
be.
he's one of the guys I can say for sure regressed from last season. He regressed. Henry.
Okay, so Bellerin.
You have 4 people to do now. So Bellerin, Tierney, just go ahead.
Bellerin 4, Tierney 8, Mason Niles. I have to talk about him. Sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Everybody is forgetting how. Remember when he said, "Oh, he didn't like to be played on the right wing. He thought he was more of a midfielder." I'm starting to see something unique about Arteta. He's starting to have players that can play more than one role in the team. If you guys are noticing that, and I don't know if you other Arsenal fans are noticing that, but the way he's planning to use Mason Niles and what he has done, playing multiple positions, there were some key games towards the end of this season that I'm like, this guy put in a lot of work. So he's becoming like a consummate like utility player, like someone who you just need him sometimes. If you need to just say, I need you to stick with this person, just frustrate this person, make him run, make life difficult. So I'll give him a 6.
John O'Shea.
Yeah, just that, that's
John O'Shea.
Yeah, so I give him a 6. And then who else was the last person? We said 4. 4.
Kolasinac 4. Okay. Karim and Steven, real quick. Kolasinac.
Kolasinac, I think I'll give him a 4. I think he's just a victim of the whole Arsenal defense. I don't know. There's something wrong with these players. When they look good when they come in, right? Then they stay at the club for one season and they all regress.
Okay, Steven.
3.
3. Yeah.
For me, I think again, like you say, physically, he should be better than he is, and that was his main strength. I just think he's got concentration issues as a defender. Like he was always good going forward, and even that this season, defensively he was never the best, but going forward at least he was a threat, and even that went this season. So 3 for me.
Okay, staying with you. I think we've done all defenders, right? That 10 games. We didn't miss anybody. Okay. Going to midfield, I'm going to bunch a couple of central guys together. Man like Guendouzi, for sure. That's the best we have to go to. Guendouzi, Xhaka, Torreira. So let's do the 3 together.
So Guendouzi, I will give a 6. We'll come on to the attitude and other issues towards the end of the season. But Guendouzi, I give a 6. Xhaka, I'll give a 7. The one I'll probably be the harshest on is probably Torreira. And I think, again, he's a victim of the managers and the way they were trying to use him earlier in the season. So I think he lost his identity. So I'll give Torreira maybe a 5. And then Ceballos, probably a 7. He was bordering on an 8 because I think towards the back end of the season, he really found his position and his role in the team. I think earlier in the season, they tried him as a 10. They tried him as a deepest midfielder. They tried him all over. I think Arteta's found a way of making him work as that double pivot with Xhaka. So I think I'll give Ceballos a 7 too.
Okay. Karim.
So
Ceballos, Xhaka, Guendouzi.
Xhaka gets a 7 because you know when he's not in the team, right? He makes one-off mistakes, but when he's not in the team, you know he's not playing, right? I think he got criticized a lot by Arsenal fans. Then at some point, the manager took him off. Then we lost a run of games when he wasn't playing, right? So to me, it showed that it was more of the consistent CMs that we have. Torreira gets a 5. He just really never had a chance this season. I think, like Henry said, he's like Stephen said, he was more of a victim of tactics. So I give him a 5 for that. Ceballos, I give a 6. I think I'm not even sure he understands what kind of player he is himself. I think he's still trying to find his own identity, right? He seems confused a lot of times when he's with the ball. So I don't want to go too much into that, but I think I give him a 6 just because he carried us towards tail end of the season. I think he got better. Who's the last person I'm missing?
Guendouzi.
Guendouzi, I give it 5. Just because I think he's got attitude problems, right? I think he's a real talent, but he's got attitude problems. So I give him a 5 for that.
Okay. I think we called it 3. EeJay.
So I'll start with Ceballos. Ceballos, I thought the season would be like after the first game, which I know I shouldn't make snap judgments after one game.
Everybody got excited. I remember against Burnley. What we call him again? Zidane. Different names. I'm like, wow. This guy's the new Zidane.
But yeah, I was excited.
Tony Cruz. I was hearing different names. We call him Tony Cruz, Spanish Tony Cruz.
Yeah. No. He was, I think towards, again, like everyone said, towards the end of the season with Arteta, and I think even in the beginning with Arteta, he had some little, there were some squabbles between them that maybe he didn't feel like he was going to be used, and eventually he got used. So I think we got to see some of his better attributes. So he does get a 7 for me. Xhaka is like the epitome, the reason why we can see our season in like 2 halves and maybe in thirds, because the first half with Emery, where we're all calling for his head, Emery's head, that is. I think we're also calling for Xhaka's head because, most of us fans we didn't see Ozil, we didn't know what was going on, and the team kept looking like they were sucking. So Xhaka was the scapegoat, I say. And I'll be first in line to say that I wanted Xhaka gone. But then when Arteta...
I was going to call you out. I remember. I'm glad you called yourself out. I remember.
When Arteta came, and the trust I have in Arteta, like when he said that, yes, he said, Xhaka, I want Xhaka to stay. I said, you know what? Maybe I don't know football as much as our coach does, and I'm pretty sure he sees something. And Stephen, you may remember, I have not understood Xhaka since the beginning. I didn't know what his position was. I asked people, I was like, what does he play? They're like, he's a deep line playmaker. I was like, why do we need a deep line playmaker? I don't get it. But you see that, like Karim said, you can see the sense of calm he brings to the team, especially in this kind of squad that we have now that, Arteta is trying to build. That presence that he brings, I mean, if we can plant him there and get someone beside him that's actually, I actually still think we need a DM, and we'll talk about that later, but someone beside that can move forward a little bit more, it's more creative, then I think we'll have a stronger team. So he gets us 8 for me, this on average. And that's high praise for me because I know what I would have given him before. Who's the other one? Guendouzi, my frenemy.
Okay.
That guy, I liked him in the beginning because I like people with energy, but like they say on Twitter, passion.
Maybe hair. Maybe you like his hair.
Yeah, I like hair apparently, and
Okay,
everyone.
I just wanted to put that in there.
But the one thing I would say about Guendouzi is that his hair is a distraction. It's big and it makes him look like he's doing more than he's doing when he's not doing much. So I think he's more of a chaos merchant. That's what they call him on Twitter. Chaos merchant, passion merchant. Very excited. I think he has quality, right? He can go forward, but I think he's also a defensive liability.
He's regressed too. I think he's regressed. He's one of the people that regressed from Emirates first season to now. He has regressed.
Yeah, so
I think.
that's, and then his off the court, off the field antics that I don't think we're really privy to. But the fact that Arteta has not used him again since that day, I think that says it all. So I give him a 5 on average. Actually, 4. 4 for
Have
me.
you talked about Torreira?
Torreira, we haven't really seen him, and again, like everyone said,
N'Golo Kante, like some people were calling him there. Arsenal fans, man, get too excited.
Torreira gets maybe he regressed, but maybe he just one of those players that like everyone said, different positions every time. I think at one point they made him a 10. It's just ridiculous with him. I think he's just a pure DM, right? Isn't that what he is? So and he's really small. So I give him a 5 this season. That's fair for him.
Harry, so the whole 4 of them, just go at it.
Danny Ceballos 7, but I think he's playing for a new contract or for whoever he's going to end up. Lucas Torreira 4. He's just a victim of not being played in the right position. Matthew Guendouzi, if I could give him 3, that would be too harsh, but I'll give him a 4. He's not serious.
Quite nice, man. Just watch out for when we do the United ratings. Just watch out for the numbers I'm going to give some people. Just watch out. I'm going to go in. Well, go ahead.
Granit Xhaka, he's changed my mind about him. I mean, me and EeJay were calling for this guy to be out, like especially not even for what he was doing on the pitch back then. Because remember, he was very, very error prone, just like Luis. If you notice that, he's cleaned that up significantly now. He's cleaned that up well. The other thing about him is, and I didn't even know this, apparently Mikel Arteta was recommending for Pep to actually get Xhaka to Man City.
I didn't know that.
So I didn't know that too until recently. So he must have seen something there. So I mean, whatever it is, I give him a 7. He turned himself around.
Okay, so stay with you, Henry. Let's do your wingers now. Let's do Saka. Let's do Saka, Bukayo Saka, Pepe. Martinelli is a forward, so I'm doing it. So let's do Bukayo Saka and Pepe. Let's do that.
And Joe Willock too, I think, right?
And Joe Willock. Okay, yes.
Okay. So
These guys,
Joe
I don't know who is who. It's like Willock. What's the other one again? You have one that's like Luis Nelson. So let's do the 4 of them. In fact, let's do the 4 of them together.
I believe you. They all look alike, even to me. And Joe Willock, I'm going to give him a 6. But I think that 6, I'm really, really being just because
generous.
when he comes into, I'm being generous because when he comes to the game, you can see the passion. He needs to be more refined. Like they need to sort of focus that energy and just let him understand what they need him to do in the game. It's the same thing for Reece Nelson. I also give him a 6 because these are the future of Arsenal. So the more they start, giving them or transferring those responsibilities onto them, the more they'll be able to. I believe they'll be able to step up. Saka, he gets a 7 because once again, remember we have a 2-in-1 player. Saka has shown that he can play either on the left or the right comfortably, and he can also play the left back comfortably without us like flinching. So that's why I give him a 7. I think it's the revelation of this season. Who's the last person?
He has swagger. Just so swagger, I'll give him 8.
Yeah, Pepe is the last guy. Pepe gets the 8. I still struggle with his. Don't know. Wait,
I have to go back.
Wait, I give him an 8 for only one reason.
Pepe? Is that what? I'm still looking for him more.
Remember, this is his first season, right? Right? This is his first full season.
Oh, I don't like this thing. This is when it was Paul Pogba. Then everybody was going in.
No.
But nobody remember it was first season. 70 million pounds. I'm not about that.
He only gets 8 for 2 reasons. One is his first season. If he plays what he did this season, next season, he's going to get a 5. But you could see towards the tail end of the season, even yesterday's game, probably his best game. I've never seen him play like he was tracking back. He was taking on players like he played fearless. Remember the goal he scored that was disallowed, which was on the offside. But that goal can tell you that if this guy gets his swag, he's gonna light things up. But that's the only reason he gets me. He gets
Okay,
me.
so it's your player. I personally, if you guys, I want to hear in the comments, if anybody's watching, leave us your comments about Pepe's rating. 8 for me, that's gaslighting, in my opinion. I saw Pepe throughout the season. You guys are trying to cover the Pepe doesn't get an 8 for me. EeJay. So the 4 of them, Pepe, Reece Nelson. Just go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with the 2 younger guys, Reece Nelson and Willock. I think I would give them 5s. I think they had average seasons when they were called upon. Willock, in particular, for me, I think he's supposed to be probably ahead. Well, Reece Nelson had that season in Germany, and it was kind of rated highly. But Willock, in particular, he has a good build, and he has a presence that he can develop and become something for our midfield. I just think I feel like he needs to find his legs. I feel like he acts like his legs. He doesn't know where the ball is. He's too. Like his legs are too long for his body. I don't know, but yeah, once he gets that under control, and it reminds me of Welbeck that way. In first touches, that's not that great. But yeah, once he gets that under control, I'll give him a higher rating. Saka, that guy is. I think he should have been young player of the year, but I know that's biased. But
okay,
yeah,
let's not go there, please.
Young player for Arsenal of the year.
Okay, for Arsenal, yes.
So yes, versatility is important, and then just like no fear in face of the goal. I think with him, just very skillful. Happy he signed for us, so he gets an 8 for me. And who was the last one? Pepe. He gets a 7. I don't think I can give him an 8. I could definitely see his skill early on, and I just think he had to find his feet on English ground. So next year he's going to kill all you haters.
Okay, well waiting. Karim.
Well, for me, Pepe gets a 6 actually. I thought it was a little inconsistent.
That's my guy.
For his resume, I think he underperformed heavily. But like EeJay said, when he gets his feet, I think he's going to be a real threat. I don't like to make excuses for players coming from a different league. When they pass you the ball control is the ball control. That's what it is. I mean, you can't have an excuse for having a bad touch when you just showed up in the new league. That's ridiculous, right? Joe Willock, I don't know. I just don't think that guy is Arsenal quality. He gets a 3 for me.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think it's Arsenal quality.
That's interesting. 3 to 6. Interesting.
Reece Nelson gets a 5. I think he's got something in the tank. And who was the last person? Saka.
Yeah.
Saka gets a 7. For his age, I mean, you look at someone like Joe Willock. He's been in the Arsenal setup for probably about a couple of years now, in and out, right? Then you look at someone like Saka, right, who shows up and is pretty much outplayed Reece Nelson, right? So I can't justify him being. To me, I think soccer is about experience, right? When you are around that first team, right, you pick up something every season, right? Something's got to improve. He's just. I don't see it with Reece Nelson. I don't think it's Arsenal quality. I think he plays for Aston Villa. That's where I see him playing in the next 5 years.
Okay.
Reece our future.
No, sorry. I mean, is that Reece Nelson? The other.
Is that Joe Willock?
Joe Willock is
Okay.
one.
3. That's interesting. Let us know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this. 3 for Joe Willock. Wow. Okay. Steven Bramble, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with Arsenal fans as well, with young players. Like, we go over the top when they first come and they're the best thing. They're the next Messi, they're the next Van Persie, they're the next whatever. And then they have a couple of bad games in a team that's 10th in the league, fighting fires. And people forget that these are 17, 18-year-old players that have no experience. So
I'll tell you guys finished 8th. Give yourself a credit, 7, 8, not 10th. You guys finished 8th. 2 places it's slightly better. It sounds better to the ear. 8.
Again, you have to go into context, right? So someone like a Willock, for example, I'll use Willock first. I give him a rating of, I would say 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing for Willock is an 8. And you can't trust him with the responsibility of playing as an 8 next to Xhaka or Ceballos because our team isn't stable enough for him to play there. So we throw him on for experience, play him as a 10, we play him on the wing, we put him in as a false 9, and people are expecting him to go in and pull up trees. Like, people forget, like, he's an 8. So when you have no back three and you're playing with 3 players in the midfield and you have a DM and he can run with the ball from deep and he can play to his strengths, you have a player, but you have to get him to that place. So for me, I gave him a 5-6 based on that. Nelson, I think, is a similar thing. I think he should have gone out on loan again this season, but just circumstances didn't allow us to let him go on loan. But again, I think a 5 for him. But you can see that with Arteta, he's given these players the confidence and the time. If we get our transfer situation sorted in the summer, maybe he does go on loan to a team in mid-table that he can actually play every week, and then we see what we have or not. Saka, I give an 8, and the reason I give an 8, like, for his age, some players just develop differently and have physically more maturity earlier. And I think for him, his composure is what makes him stand out. And again, look at his goal assists and his contributions to the team. The older players trust him. They have faith in him to give him the ball in difficult situations because, again, his maturity sets him apart. And then Pepe, I give Pepe a 7. And people can go on again, first season money. He's played 40 games. He's contributed to 20 goals in the league in a bad team, right? So...
In the league, 20 goals in the league?
For a whole season.
Okay,
he's played
competition.
40 games, and he's contributed to almost 20 goals. He's either 18 or 20 goals in goals and assists. And again, it's in a bad team, right? So, at second season, we've had the flashes. We've seen the free kicks in the Europa League. We saw the goal that he smashed in against Chelsea that didn't count. There's just flashes from him. Again, the question is he going to turn those flashes into consistent performances? That's when you start to really say, okay, is he worth the money or not? But if he does, then he's worth the money. But again, the players don't determine what they get paid for. And the Premier League is not the French league. Like, he got a lot more time on the ball in the French league. So when people are talking about that first touch, the French league, almost every goal he got, he was getting the ball to his feet on the halfway line, beating 5 or 6 players and scoring. That's not happening for him in the Premier League. He's got to come short. He's got to run in behind. He's got to do all these different things, and he's not used to doing it. So he's learning. He's a young player as well. So I give him a 7, just for the body of work. Would you expect for that money more? Yes, but over the course of the season, considering how bad we were, I'll give him a 7.
So now I'm going to do this now just to save time. I'm going to bunch the rest of the people left together. I think there's not a lot left. We're going to do, and I'm going to stay with you. You're going to Ozil. I don't think we should spend too much time, saying why. Ozil, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Martinelli, Edin Nketiah. Am I correct? That's the last one's left, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
So let's go with Ozil. If I give Ozil a 0, I'll give him a 0, but I'll give him a 1. And again, it's just his time's up. His time's up. He shouldn't be at the club. So
okay.
1. Aubameyang, I'll give a 9. Lacazette, I would give a 7. He had a quite up and down season, but again, in the bigger games, he did show up in terms of what he did for the team.
Lacazette 7?
Yeah, I give him a 7.
Nketiah,
I give a 6. Again, he's just another young player that's making his way. Martinelli, I give Martinelli an 8. I think earlier in the season, you saw potential there in terms of, and again, adaptability and maturity, playing on the left, playing on through the middle, taking advantage of when Aubameyang was out and stepping up and actually carrying.
Star boy.
And then who else did we have? I think that was all, right?
That's it.
That's it. Karim.
Alba gets a 9. I mean, you can argue against that. Lacazette gets a 6. A little disappointed in kind of seasons he's had. So, for who's next again? I think Martinelli gets a 7. I was quite impressed with him in the earlier part of the season before he got hurt.
Edin
Nketiah, he's another player. I just don't think he's Arsenal quality. Young or not, I've seen younger players of his age at top clubs who play a lot better. I mean, you should go. I don't know how much you follow the young the under 23. You should go see the young kid Balogun. That's probably why he wants to leave. That guy to me is way better than Nketiah. He should be playing. He should be actually playing ahead of Nketiah. Incredibly composed player. But anyway, Nketiah, I just think he's to me, him and Willock they are both on the same boat for me. I don't think he has more quality. Young or not.
But Ozil, the Fortnite master.
Ozil should just get out of our club. I mean, I've been an ardent supporter of Ozil for a long time. Now I think his attitude just sucks. Definitely. I mean, you cannot have 3 coaches who think his attitude sucks, right? So he's just a problem. So he just needs to go. Can I give you a -5? If I could give you a -5, I'll give you a -5. So I don't even want to rate him. He hasn't done anything for him to get a rating. So
EeJay
has also played up to 10 games. I don't know if it's fair to rate him.
He's played 18 games this season.
18 he's played games. Yeah, I know. I checked it. I looked at it yesterday.
It seemed
that's
like
how bad he is. If you can't remember what he played, then
yeah, it's not. He didn't have a memorable season, obviously, and then we've not used him at all this year since the restart. So Ozil, I like Ozil a lot. Everybody knows this. He's not my favorite Arsenal player, but I may have some sentimental.
You need to send a letter of apology to Unai Emery about Ozil. I remember how you were happy on this.
But let me say this: if
Let
Ozil
me hijack the section, just go.
if Ozil had to be the reason we got Unai out of our club, then
He tried.
He gets a 6 for me because guess what? We got Unai out somehow, and somehow we elevated Ozil to be the reason why he wasn't playing. Unai was trying to keep him out of the team, freeze him out. It's clear now that there's something wrong because I know Arteta wouldn't do that to Ozil if there was not a legitimate reason. That's just the answer to that question. So his true, even based on his actual performances, like I said, nothing memorable. So I'll probably give him a 4. Like he didn't create like we expect him to. He was pretty pedestrian in most of those games. He had flashes, obviously, but for the most part, not Ozil of 2014, 2015, 2016, or 2017. So who's next? Alba gets 9.5. I know once you don't like the half numbers, but also Alba was the reason we even finished 8th. We won a cup. Any of that, he's the reason we did all that. Lacazette, I know we tried to use Eddie to bring him out of his shell. I think it worked a little bit towards the end, but he was so hot and cold that he has to get a 6 for me. Wasn't really a big fan of him this year. I feel like he missed a lot of chances that he could have got. I think he just gets stage fright sometimes. Eddie Nketiah is my boy. Karim, I don't like what you said about him.
It was bigging him up early in the season. I remember.
He must stay at Arsenal, and I think Arteta agrees with me because
comparing him to Robin van Greenwood. EeJay, stop it.
No, I think they were comparing Martinelli to.
I remember you talking about.
No, I don't think I did. I don't remember this.
Okay.
I really don't.
Receipts are coming out later. Go ahead.
Sure. But Eddie Nketiah, like I said, he was supposed to go on loan. Well, guess what? They recalled that loan immediately. They said no. Arteta saw him in training one day and held him back. So is he a starter? I think that's the questions you need to debate. But I do like the fact that he was given opportunity. He scored some goals. I mean, without that, you don't get Laka back because if Eddie kept scoring, Lacazette doesn't come back to the team. He was keeping that guy out. So I think, we just need to make sure he continues to develop. So have I scored him yet? Give him a 7. I think he did enough. I like his.
EeJay, right before you go, you need to watch Balogun real quickly when you have a chance.
Okay, that's fair. I've not seen this Balogun kid. I've heard about him. I've heard that he wants to leave, and I've heard that we should keep him on somehow. But for whatever reason, he's never made the first team. So what's the deal there? And maybe one of you can tell me why.
Sometimes.
Oh, luck.
I said luck. Yeah, luck plays it.
Okay. Yeah. And then
sometimes.
Right. Who's the last one? Martinelli. Martinelli is such a good young kid. And then you saw Arteta wasn't using him. So we did see him for some time before even he got injured in training. So we hadn't seen him in a while. But I think for what we saw with him, that's an 8 for me. I don't want to be exaggerate, but I think he was, if he had stayed, continued to do what he was doing, that's an 8.
Okay. Henry, so go at it. The remaining 4 people.
Oh, 1 second. Yeah. So let me open my paper here. Okay. Mesut Ozil too. I love him. He's a great player. Something got to give. He The issue I had with him is when apparently they told everybody to drop their salaries because of the whole financial, pandemic, and everybody took a pay cut, apparently except for him. I thought that was just like stupid of him. So, I mean, financially, he might think he's doing the right thing, but that says a lot about, who he is as an individual. So for me, he gets it too. As a player individually, I still think he's a brilliant player. He's exceptional, but that hasn't come across on the pitch every time he had the opportunity to show that. Lacazette, I give him a 5. I think even Lacazette himself will not give himself like a 6 or 7 this season. I think he knows he's not been, he's not showed his best form this season. He's one of those players that I think his form dipped. But oddly enough, I think he's that type of player that if he doesn't play, his confidence doesn't improve. So we just have to find ways to play. Who else? Eddie, I give him a 6. I wouldn't say Eddie is. He has the potential to contribute immensely to Arsenal, but he just needs opportunities, right? So hopefully next season, he can feature well in the Carling Cup or FA Cup, or Arteta comes up with a season where he can use him well. Martinelli, I'll give Martinelli a 7. He's one for the future. He's out of all of them, all the whole bunch between him, with Nelson, Joe Willock, he's the one. I'm happy we already tied him to a long-term contract, but he's one for the future. Also, I take my ratings for Pepe back. I'm taking it to a 7, not a 8. So let that be on record.
Okay, then so this is what we're going to do for the rest. We've done all for everybody now. Let's do Arteta, Unai Emery, because yes, he was your manager at some point, so you have to rate him. Unai Emery and your board, right? Rahul, John Rahul, rate them for the season. Over 10.
Okay. So the board. I mean, I'm very harsh on the board because I feel like the board, they kind of run Arsenal like a Ponzi scheme, right? And then the way Arsenal plays too, we kind of fit into that model. The reason why I say that is, if you notice, Arsenal have this weird thing that they close the season on a high, right? And I feel like they do that so much for the next season, for the season ticket holders, able to be hyped and like buy more tickets and everything. And then beginning of the season, we're like, wait, what happened? It's like day and night, like something just like a TikTok video, But yeah, so that board gets a 4 for me. I mean, you can see that hopefully with what Arteta has done this season, they can move in the right direction. Arteta, I'll give him a 7. He was in a very, very difficult position. I feel like if I wasn't expecting what he has been able to accomplish so far. Before Arteta came into Arsenal, we didn't have a pattern of it. Like you couldn't say Arsenal is going to do this, and this. This is how we will set up. This is who we expect to play. This is what you expect from the player. You couldn't say that. But Arteta has brought this new discipline. Everybody's more accountable, and you can tell for some of these players. Example, Bellerin. Bellerin knows now that if he does any funny showings or if he doesn't show up for a game, he knows there's Cedric. He knows there's Mason Lyons. So he's sort of like improved the ability that other players can step in if he's flat.
But social media will say Arteta took you guys from 8 to 8. Not me. I see social media.
That's fine.
To go at 8. This is not me. Don't quote me. From 8 to 8. How? I mean,
that's fine.
Is that progress?
8 is good. Considering 8, we could have easily been at 16. You understand what I mean? So I still give him that. Who else was the last person?
I just mess with you. Go ahead. Unai Emery.
Oh no, I'll give him a 3. I don't even need to talk about it. 3.
EeJay.
I want to start with Unai, that coach that tried to take us from 8 to 16th or whatever position he was going to leave us in if we didn't switch him out. Look, that guy was not. And maybe like Henry said, I shouldn't say too much, but he was. I called for his head early. I called for it in probably February of 2019. That's the earliest I remember saying that he should leave the club.
In the closet, not openly though. You came out later.
So I said it in a lot of group chats, and I have pictures to prove that I did. I knew he wouldn't be he wouldn't be the one for the future, but I didn't know whether or not we should stick with him. I think that's. And then after the whole Baku thing, I knew that and the whole way we closed out that season, that was fireable offenses that he committed there. His last 6 or 7 games.
Okay.
So no reason for us to have been going back to Europe after that. We should have been top 4 easily with those teams that we had to play. Anyway, and we got him out, which was good. And then, Yeah, so that's a 2 for me, for him. For someone like that, a coach that knew how to take teams to Europa and win them, I don't know. Like he was on track to finish 16 if we had let him stay. So he gets a 2 for me. Arteta, I don't want to go over the top with him. I think 7 is fair, just for what the expectations were. I think they were in the gutter, and then he was able to. I think he did surpass them, and I think the team, just the buy-in from the club, or not the club, I don't know yet, but the players especially. I think that's evident, and they're trying their best. I think they're trying their best to do what he wants, and they may not be able to do it. So maybe he needs better players in some positions, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, he gets a 7 for me. I think this is a good first half of the season for him, especially finishing with a trophy, which no other new coach was able to pull off.
Yet.
Who's there? Who else is?
Oh, okay. So no new coach. Okay, go ahead. No.
The board.
Yeah, no, he said no other. So no other.
No,
new
go ahead. New coach. I didn't pick that up. Go ahead.
Yeah. The board is. I don't trust this board, and I think we'll be right not to trust them. We never have been able to trust them. So they get a 4 until they prove themselves different. This season alone, even some of the decisions they made, I think honestly that Ljungberg decision, I think as I read, I'm pretty sure they were hoping.
I forgot about him. No, it doesn't count. He was there for like 4 games.
Just 4 games, yeah. I think
would have been good for banter. Hell, I didn't think of Ljungberg. I messed up. I should have thrown in Ljungberg.
I shouldn't have let him stay. But yeah, I think they were on track to I think they picked him because they thought that he would, if he did a good enough job, he could stay. So I don't think they even had Arteta in the cards, when they fired Unai. So I don't think they had a plan for Unai. They just knew he had to go and didn't know what to do, and they brought a Band-Aid, and then Arteta was like afterthought. So I don't think they were planning things out properly. So like I said, I don't know if we can trust them. And because they've never been trustworthy, they get a 4 until, like I said, they can prove themselves.
Karim, okay. Yeah, you're on mute.
Okay. Emery gets a 2. Just for one main reason. The loss to Chelsea in the Europa Cup final, I thought it was just a tactical debacle. So yeah, for that game alone, discounting everything he's done. Like it just negates everything else he had done prior to that time.
20 unbeaten. I remember those unbeaten run. After we celebrated social media. 20 unbeaten run.
For some reason, I was never excited about that guy. Really. I just think he tinkers with his tactics a little too much for me. I mean, that guy makes 20 different changes within space of 10 minutes. I mean, so yeah, I wasn't exactly a fan of his really. I didn't want to be in the party pooper. So I just kind of let's give him a chance. Freddie Ljungberg, I think I was quite impressed with him. I think if anything else, we have to credit Freddie Ljungberg for promoting Saka, Martinelli, and what I think he gave those 2 guys a chance, right? So if not those 2 guys, there'll be no Saka, and they'll probably still be playing in under 23s, right? So he gets a lot of credit for me for that. The board is just the board, right? I mean, the Cronkies, they don't exactly like spending money. I mean, when it comes to Arsenal, they don't like spending money. So if I'm rating the board, like I'm rating the referees, right? They always get 2, even 1. So I mean, if I had a Man City board, they get a 10 every time. Right? Unfortunately, we don't have a Man City board. The Arsenal board, they get a 10. They get it 2 every time. So hopefully things change going forward, but I don't expect that to happen. Maybe we might get the new owner. You know what? I take that back. Maybe I'll give him a 3. I give him a 3 because they spent £70 million on Pepe. Nobody expected that purchase whatsoever. So if you go back and think about what they did with Pepe, if anybody told you Arsenal was going to make a £70 million purchase, you'd argue. I mean, you place a $500 bet that was never going to happen. So just for that purchase, I give him. I go from a 2 to a 3. So,
okay.
Yeah. Where else?
Arteta.
Arteta. Oh, Arteta is still out. To me, the jury is still out. I mean, it's 6 months. He's done pretty well. He's won us the trophy already. I give him a 6, and I'm sure I'm quite harsh on him. The reason mainly being that Arteta's made some substitution in some games that cost us the games. So, I mean, he's made some that won us games as well, but I think the games in which he made substitutions, I think he really didn't need to touch the team. Even me, who I'm not a coach, who is not a coach, right? I could see some of the substitutions he made was just wrong, right? So he's made some tactical errors, and I hope he learns from that going forward. But I'll give him a 6. He's won a trophy. People can argue that, he was going to get a 5 because we started at 8, we finished at 8. I don't care about structure, whatever it is. It's all about position for me, right? So he started at 8, finished at 8. He won a trophy, so he gets 1 extra point. So, he gets a 6 for him.
Okay, interesting. Steven.
Yeah, so Emery, I give a 2. Again, it was just a discipline thing for me. Like, he was never in control of the team and the dressing room. The players were kind of doing whatever they wanted. And again, I'm not one for kind of like going at coaches and disrespecting coaches. Like, the guy had a good CV at Sevilla, was managing at PSG, so he's not a bum by any means. But I just don't think he was in control of the dressing room at any point. In terms of the board, this is another one where EeJay will tell you, like, I'm on the opposite. Like, the Arsenal board is the same as the Liverpool board. They spend the money that we make and they hire people that should be doing their jobs. And I don't think that people actually realize, again, the challenge that they had of making a decision to get rid of Wenger had to be done and should have been done earlier. But there was sentiment involved in that, maybe for too long. So I discredit them for that because I think they needed to make that decision. It was either, hey, retire or leave by mutual consent, or what that needed to happen earlier, and they didn't. It was sentiment. And then the last thing I would say is about changing the structure. So bringing in Sanlehi, bringing in Edu, doing all of those things behind the scenes. Because again, everybody's high-fiving about Martinelli. That's the team that went and got Martinelli for 6 million. That's the team that negotiated the Pepe deal. We don't know what we have in Saliba, right? And the only way we got him was by letting him go out on loan for a year. But again, if that works out and you get an 18-year-old potential world-class defender for 28, 27 million. So I think there's change. I don't give them complete off the hook. So I give them maybe a 6 or a 6. But I think that there's things with the board that people need to bear in mind. Like, our board is exactly the same as Liverpool's board. Liverpool don't spend what they don't make. And they put people in place and they made a lot of good decisions. And over time, those good decisions resulted in selling Coutinho for a lot of money, selling Suarez for a lot of money, making profit, and then turning that into Alisson and Van Dijk and all these things that people are high-fiving, right? So, and they made decisions. I remember Arsenal fans laughing at them when they signed Mane for 30 million. And again, that's a recruitment team making decisions and going and getting a player that the manager wanted. So there's going to be some things like that Arsenal do, because even the Pablo Mari signing, I don't see what Arteta sees or what they see, but that's the player they wanted. So we might not agree, but sometimes I think we just got to let things play out and then judge when the performances are there to be seen. And I think for a lot of what they did last summer, we haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
And then Arteta, I give him a 7. And I think the reason I give him a 7, I think he's a coach more than necessarily a manager. And I think a lot of the criticism of him is, okay, substitutions, tactics, which is things that a manager gets with experience. I think right now, the reason that makes him the right man for us is we have a young team. We got players that need to be ridden hard, that need to be coached. And he is a coach. Like, you can see that he's spending time with these guys, making them better, right? So you're talking about Xhaka, you're talking about Ceballos, these guys are getting better because he's spending the time to coach them, which is why I have confidence as well to give some of the younger players a little bit more time. I don't want them starting for me. I don't want to see Willock starting games. I don't want to see Nelson starting games. But again, people forget the likes of a Ray Parlour or whoever was around the Arsenal squad for years, was never a great player, but over time developed and contributed. He was never a starter. And I think we've got a few players, young players like that could develop that way if we just continue to take time and coach them. We don't want them starting games every week, but being in around the squad and participating and learning from good quality players is what we want.
Okay, those are good points. I'll wrap up the session real quickly. Then we go to, and I'll stay with you, Stephen. My quick thoughts about Teta and EeJay, Karim. The ones who know me very well know I'm very biased to coaches that understand tactics. I think he's a good coach. I mean, I think I called you from early on about him being a good coach. The way he breaks down the game, he says a couple of things. When I just watch his press conferences, and on the same things like football is about finding where the space is, and the implementation of it. Because you can say all these things. I mean, AVB was a perfect example. AVB back in days, you say all this, but he could not implement. The players couldn't understand his tactics. And that's why AVB failed at Spurs and Chelsea. Maybe not failed, underperformed. So I think Arteta is a brilliant coach if he gets the right players. I think he could do very well for you guys if he gets backed. Those are my thoughts about Arteta. So let's go into staying with you, Steven. Positions, real quick. So this one I think we need to wrap up in like 10 minutes. So positions that you think you guys need to fill and realistic targets. So just read it off quickly.
I think we need a centre back and probably 2 central midfielders.
Okay, realistic targets for those. If you guys had the money.
We don't have the money, so let's start.
Okay, so take it. So realistic targets then with your budget that you guys have.
At the centre back position, I actually don't know because I think we need to go and find a decent young player that we can bring in. So the guy from France, the Megales, the Brazilian guy. There's a couple of guys that we've been linked with. I think Saliba they're depending on having Saliba next season and Mari next season already. And like you said, we've got like 8 centre backs. We've got to get rid of 4 or 5 of them. So I think what will happen is unless we can get rid of 4 or 5, Arteta is going to bank on Saliba, maybe getting another player if he can get rid of some. So I think a young, maybe 23, 24-year-old centre-back, someone else that can be next to Saliba while we kind of transition Luis out. In midfield, I think we need another box-to-box midfielder so that we can kind of, again, it depends if we keep Ceballos or not, but we need another box-to-box midfielder. I think Partey would be perfect if we can, by some miracle, pull that one off. And I definitely think we need a number 4. We need a proper holding midfielder. I think Torreira is a good player, but like again, he's another one of those chaos, like breaking up tackles. He's not good enough on the ball in that position to play the system that Arteta wants. So I think we need a mobile ball playing defensive midfielder. Not sure who that could be, but I think those are the positions we need.
Okay. Karim, real quick. Positions and targets.
So to me, for defense, I don't know any decent defenders out there apart from the guy from Napoli and maybe a couple other ones there. And Arsenal cannot afford any of those guys. Around the league, everybody needs a defender. Manchester United wants a defender. Chelsea wants a defender. Man City wants a defender. Right. So you look at all those guys, then you think about what they can afford, what Arsenal can afford. So you think, what kind of players are we going to get? Right.
I think. Sorry to interrupt. I think the thing that I would just say with that is it's not about who we can afford and the names. It's about who fits the system, especially with Arteta and the way that he's going about coaching the team, right? So like Mari is a left-footed centre-back, ball-playing centre-back. That's why they went for him, but he doesn't have pace. Saliba has pace. We need another pacey centre-back to the point you made earlier that can play. Where they find that, I have no idea. Same as you. I don't even think we need to look at Koulibaly and people like that.
Exactly.
Just use the scouting, find someone that can play, that's got a bit of pace behind there with Saliba.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. To me, defending is just defending, right? It's defending, right? Some things are just defending. They don't have to teach you to defend. If you're a football player, right, a defender, your job is to win the ball. You don't have to do anything different. Right, there's nothing extraordinary you're doing. Just be aware and defend, right? So yeah, if you think who we can get, if anything else, I'll look in the Premiership. If I was the team, I'll look for a player in the Premiership who knows the league, who understands the rigorosity of the league. So it doesn't take 1 year to try to figure it out,
yeah.
right?
Ben Godfrey, right? Like Ben Godfrey guy in Norwich. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's 50 million.
I mean, there's a guy from Stephen Dong, the guy from Brighton. What's his name?
Stephen Dong.
I'll put it something for that guy, right? It's a stopgap, not exactly pacey, but stopgap. He's a leader. He doesn't make many mistakes, right? So I'll take him, right, and win off and probably pair him with Saliba or Holding or Mari, whoever that guy is, right? I just don't see us getting any top center backs out. There's not too many of them out there, right? And they're going to cost a lot of money. So realistically, if I get it done, I'll be happy. For defensive midfield, Partey is the ideal candidate. I think as soon as Atletico agrees to a $45 million price tag, I bet you're going to see 5 other bigger teams coming with £70 million trying to price us out of that transfer, right? So I'm not sure we're going to get him. If we can get Decore from Watford, I think he's a good stopgap. He's a good box-to-box midfielder. There's another guy who's realistic, who's also a realistic target from Porto, Pereira. I don't know if you've seen him play. He's a pretty decent defensive midfielder. So I'll look out for him as well. So those guys to me will be our realistic targets. Who else do we need? We need a number 10. We need a proper number 10. And if I were, for me, I think we should try to get Awa from Lyon, right? I think he's a really quality midfielder. Yeah. His work rate is quite high. He's a really good player. I'll take Awa from Lyon if we can get him. To me, I think those are the players we need. Those are areas where I think we need players. Three players would at least get us into the top 4. If we can get 3 players in the right positions, they get us in the top 4.
Okay. EeJay, real quick.
Okay. You guys know more about these external players than I do. I do think we need an Ozil replacement. I don't think we have one in our team. And I think we need a DM, which I don't think we have a good one, and 2 center backs, which I'm definitely sure that Pablo is going to be a new signing. Saliba's our new signing, so I don't think we can expect anything else from that board. But as far as who I think can fit in those positions, I don't know. I've heard Partey all the time, and I've seen him a few times. I think he's good.
After Partey.
I know, right? I think if it can work, we can get him. I don't know about getting any of these Premier League guys. I think their prices are usually overinflated, so I just think we'll probably shy away from them. Even the relegated folks, folks that just went down, would we be able to afford them? I don't know. But yes, 4 positions, or 2 center backs, 1 DM, and 1 number 10.
Henry, wrap us up before I wrap everything up.
So it's the same thing. I would sort of agree with what everybody has said. We need at least 1 more defender, center back. I also think we need 1 defensive midfielder and also an attacking midfielder, mainly just to play that number 10 role, because we haven't been able to sort of plug that gap for someone to replace Ozil. You always see it in some games where you just need that one person to do, to take you to the next line. Like you see these forwards making this run, there's that last pass, to connect that run is missing. So I think if we can fill those 3 spots, we should be okay. I don't know the players, but yeah, if we can fill those 3 spots, we should be okay.
I saw some comments from Steven, in the comments. Yeah, those are good options in FIFA Football Manager. Thinking about it that way. What is that good option?
Actually, the Sobolozai guy is actually pretty good. Actually, I'll take him as well. Good number 10.
And these are guys that you can get at prices with the current situation, right? Like he's available for 18-20 million, and Partey is a nice name, but for the money that they're asking, as soon as they get to 45 million and they're asking for that up front, Arsenal are done.
Exactly.
We'll give them 15-20 up front and maybe pay the rest
over 5 years.
Yeah, because
EBT loans, credit cards, installment payments.
I don't care how they pay for it, so long as they pay for it. Because people go up, Liverpool aren't paying for Virgil van Dijk all up front. They didn't.
Yeah, everybody's doing that. Yeah, every Manchester United are doing that too now. So this was fun, guys. The Arsenal review. Thank you guys for coming, Henry, Karim, Steven, with all the knowledge that you guys brought, and EeJay. This was fun. I forgot to do admin, which is terrible, but I'll do it now. If you like our content, please give us a like, share, subscribe. We are on Instagram at Fantasy Footy. You can find us if you like podcasts. Anywhere you see, get your podcast. It's the Footy Fantasy Podcast, one word. The full video will be on YouTube at Footy Fantasy, 2 words. I see the chat going off. You can find us on Twitter at Footy AD Fantasy, and we also have a Facebook page called Extraordinary Footy Fans. Well, thank you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day, especially Henry, for taking time off work. All of you guys, have fun.